Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube. Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, as you all can see right there. Key City Sports on Instagram and Keyman on millions.co. So here's my media feed on millions.co. And here is, in a few seconds, I'm going to show you my merchandise shop for our Keys to the Road apparel. Any and everybody can go get them some Keys to the Road apparel. As of right now, there are the prices. All processing, shipping, and handling will be covered by Millions, and this will be delivered to your door immediately after the purchase. So now let me get to the reason why I'm doing this today. We got the college football AP poll out. It just came out. So now we get to the point where we got majority of these teams. They kind of snuck in there, as you all can see right here. Top 25 college football rankings. This is the preseason, so this will fall right into week 1. And there are a few teams that are on this list that I do have a problem with. I mean, Ohio State don't have a problem with. Oregon. Now, one thing I'm going to say about Oregon is, before I get into Oregon has been one of those teams that have been on the outside of everything the last couple of years. And now let's look at Oregon's schedule. I am going to get you to Oregon's schedule. Now, this is the first problem that I have, because I don't think Oregon should be number 2 in the country when it comes to college football. I don't. Now, we look at Oregon's schedule for this coming season, and you see it seems like that they have a watered-down cupcake schedule. They only have like 4 ranked teams on their schedule in USC, Ohio State, Michigan, and Washington. But look at these teams look at these little cupcake teams. They play Boise State opening day, September 5th, Oklahoma State, Portland State. They could be 3-0 by the time they get to USC. Then you play UCLA, Nebraska, Illinois, Northwestern, and then you play Michigan State just before the season ends. So now we look at that. You all are looking at their schedule, the Oregon Ducks schedule, and I just have one question. What is Dan Lanning going to do this season? Because the last 4 years, he has just been in and out. He's just been in and out of the playoffs, not doing anything, not winning any significant games. You get blown out by Ohio State a couple of years ago. Last season, you get blown out by Indiana in the college football playoff. Then again, you get blown out by Indiana 3 years ago. So it's like, is this the year for Oregon to win the championship or what? Because the last few years I've been saying this. Oregon is all hype and no action. Oregon has one of the best, and I do mean they have one of the best deals when it comes to Nike apparel. When it comes to their jerseys, they have Nike galore all over. But now, let's see, when we get to the Oregon Ducks, as far as, let's go back. We get to the Oregon Ducks as far as a championship perspective. We see where, as far as offensively, Oregon is up there with some of the best teams in college football. Now, Oregon, that's my first problem that I have with this list. The second problem that I have is Indiana. Now, even though Indiana is the defending champion, I believe that the Indiana Hoosiers should be ranked ahead of Oregon because obviously Indiana beat Oregon to get to the national championship, and they beat Miami to get to the national championship. So that's one of these. That's where I see where the rankings are broken, and we also see with Indiana their schedule and their schedule, they'll be 4-0 by the time they get, well, excuse me. The Hoosiers, they may be 6-0 by the time they face Oregon. I mean, not Oregon, but by the time they face Ohio State, the Indiana Hoosiers could be 6-0 because Nebraska, Rutgers, Northwestern, Western Kentucky, Howard, and North Texas, they are not going to give Indiana a legitimate run for their money. Then you see Ohio State on this list, on their schedule, Michigan, then you see USC, you see Washington. And then we get to the last game of the season, which is Purdue. So Indiana Hoosiers could be right in the thick of things as they were last season. Now, once we get past the Indiana Hoosiers and we get back to these rankings. Now, these rankings, this is just for preseason. This is just the projections of where the coaches and the Associated Press, this is where they see every team where they will end up at the start of the season. Well, at the end of the season. But does anybody notice anything? I mean, in the first 13 slots, in the first 13 slots, there are 7, and I do mean 7 SEC schools having those first 13 slots. So I just want to say something because I know over the last couple of weeks, you've had different conferences saying that, oh, we run college football now. This conference runs college football. SEC, they still run college football now. I know that it has been 3 years since the SEC has had a champion in the national championship game. But when you have the majority of your rankings in the top 13, 7 of them are SEC teams, everybody is expecting more from the SEC than the Big 10 or the Big 12. Outside of the Big 12, when it comes to these teams in the Big 12, if it wasn't for Oregon, USC, and Ohio State, the Big 10 the Big 12 would not, Ohio State is a part of the Big 12. Part of the Big 10. Now Oregon is in the Big 10. USC is in the Big 10. If it wasn't for Ohio State basically dominating the Big 10, nobody would talk about the Big 10. And for the Big 12, you have teams like BYU, Washington, you have SMU, teams like that. If it wasn't for that, the Big 12 wouldn't have any notoriety. And don't even get me started on the ACC, because the ACC, Florida State, Miami, Clemson, outside of those teams, who's really going to pick up the ACC like that? And then don't even get me started about the SEC, because you have so many teams. You got Georgia, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, LSU, Alabama. You have Tennessee. Now, that's one problem that I have. How in the world is Tennessee? Let's look at their schedule. Tennessee's schedule. Look at Tennessee's schedule, and how in the world is Tennessee even ranked after the season that they had last year? As you all can see, the Volunteer schedule, they have Furman first. Georgia Tech, Kennesaw State, they'll be 3-0 by the time they face Texas. Then they have Auburn, Arkansas. They have Alabama, South Carolina, Kentucky, Texas A&M, LSU, and to finish out the season, they play at Vanderbilt. Tennessee, I don't think Tennessee is going to be ranked by the end of the season. I may be wrong about that, but when it comes to some of these teams that are ranked already, I think that they are just good. They're not going to end up being in the top 25 at season's end. Now, one thing when it comes to, I'm going to just go ahead and say LSU. LSU is on a Lane Kiffin high right now. See, the reason why I say LSU is on a Lane Kiffin high is because since LSU got Lane Kiffin, everybody is expecting, Lane Kiffin to basically turn the meter from a fringe bowl game team that Brian Kelly had LSU at last season to a championship contender in just year one. Now, I don't think that the year one spectacle of Lane Kiffin in Baton Rouge, I don't think that is going to happen. Now, when we look at their schedule, when we look at the Tigers' schedule, yeah, they may have a few games that they can sneak out here and there. Now, the first game they face Clemson, Battle of Death Valley. Who knows? LSU may win that one. Then you have Louisiana Tech. Then you have your SEC schedule. Parts of your SEC schedule is coming up. Ole Miss at 9, September 19th. Texas A&M, September 26th. Then you have on October 10th, Kentucky. Now, LSU, they're going to beat Kentucky. Then November 7th, you have Alabama. And you're playing Alabama in your home stadium in Death Valley. Then you play the Texas Longhorns. November 21st, you play Tennessee. And when it comes to the end of the season, LSU will be playing Arkansas. Now, the one thing I can say, the best case scenario for LSU this season, I'm going to say is 9-3. 9-3. That's the best case scenario for the LSU Tigers is 9-3, because first season under Lane Kiffin, we all know, like I always say, 5 years, first year, it's always going to be some growing pains. Always. The second year should be improvement. Now, this is just the average progression stage in college football, but who knows? The LSU Tigers, they may be ahead of schedule, and dare I say, they may be in the college football playoff. But realistically, as of right now, see, we're in the middle part of August. So realistically, right now, I'm just going to go ahead and say that this is a team that is good enough to get a bowl game, and let's see where everything goes from there. Let's see where everything goes from there. The next team that I have a pretty much a problem with is this team. And this team pretty much just came from out of nowhere. And that is Penn State. Penn State and Washington, they were not ranked at all last season. Now, Penn State, they do have a new head coach. And let's look at the Nittany Lions schedule for this season. Now, for the Nittany Lions, they only have 3 ranked opponents on their schedule. That is number 14 USC, number 16 Michigan, and number 17 Washington. So before the Nittany Lions, they start facing USC on October 10th. It seems like by their schedule, it seems like the Nittany Lions, they should be 5-0. But obviously, new head coach. This is a new coaching staff. We still have that 1 year. This is their first season. So obviously, you are going to see growing pains, America. And you heard it here. Keytime Sports said it first. As you all can see, look at my background. Everything I say on my platform is verified, as you all can see right here. Now, let's get back to the topic at hand. Penn State Nittany Lions, they haven't been able to win top 25 games in the past 20 years. I'm looking at statistics over here on my whiteboard, and for the past 20 years, the Penn State Nittany Lions have played 45. Well, excuse me, they've played 35 ranked opponents they were ranked 2. And in that time frame, the Penn State Nittany Lions are 10-25. They don't win very many top 25 games very much. So that is why I'm saying that when it comes to their schedule and when it comes to this part of their schedule, USC, Michigan, and Washington just starting out, they may have a tough time. You're playing USC, even though you're playing USC at home in your home stadium, this is still a first-year team with a first-year head coach. And then Penn State, they're going into Ann Arbor, Michigan, and playing the Wolverines on October 17th. Then Washington on November 7th. So Penn State, worst case scenario, 8-4. Best case scenario for them is 10-2. But I don't see them going to a college football. I don't see them having a college football playoff appearance at all. I don't. The next team that I have a problem with is the SMU Mustangs. Now, the SMU Mustangs, they really haven't done anything in the past 3 years. America, and all you SMU Mustang fans out here, you probably don't know who I am, but look at my background, and you'll see why everything I'm saying is justified. It's justified. So as of right now, we look at SMU. SMU is now projected to be, I would say they are the 3rd best team in their conference. They're the 3rd best team. And as you look at the schedule, starting off the season at Florida State, playing versus FSU, I think SMU could beat FSU in Florida State. Then they only have 2, and I do mean the Mustangs only have 2 ranked opponents as of right now. But obviously the rankings are going to fluctuate from week to week. But that meeting that they have with Louisville, September 19th, playing against number 24 Louisville. And then the second to last Saturday of the college football season, they're playing Notre Dame. Now, I believe that Notre Dame, they have one of those schedules where they could just pretty much just beat everybody on their schedule, and that is how they'll get into the college football playoff, but with no problem. But the SMU Mustangs, they're pretty much an outlier right now. So those are the SMU Mustangs. The next team is the Houston Cougars. The Houston Cougars last season, they underperformed. Now, they did play BYU for their conference championship in the Big 12, but obviously we all know who won the Big 12. That was BYU. Now, I'm not going to say that BYU is going to be in the same position, but there were quite a few times last year. I wasn't saying the BYU Cougars. I was saying BY who, because you didn't know which BYU Cougars team was going to show up from week to week. And when we get to the Houston Cougars, they only have, as of right now, they only have 2 ranked opponents on their schedule. Texas Tech on September 18th, and then they have Utah on October 24th. So the Houston Cougars, one thing I can say about their schedule, like I said, it's pretty much watered down. I mean, they do have Colorado on their schedule. Now, everybody, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to just shift right to Colorado since I'm thinking about it. Colorado is really a dark horse this season. Now, everybody knows that I am a big fan of Coach Prime and what he's got going on in Boulder, Colorado. Now, Colorado's schedule. I'm going to just go ahead and say this. Colorado's schedule is pretty tough because Colorado, they have 3 top 25 opponents currently on their schedule. They do. They have Texas Tech. We all know that Texas Tech is going to be in the thick of things by the time late November and early December gets here. Utah Utes is another team that is going to be in the thick of things. And when it comes to the next team that is on this list, Houston, the team that I just talked about, they are going to play the Buffaloes on Friday night, November 13th. That's a Friday night. Now, one thing I can say is Colorado, they're not going to fire Coach Prime. They're not going to fire Dion. They're not, because he has brought more recognition to Colorado the past 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. And he's brought more recognition to Colorado in the past 3 years than any of the 5 coaches have done in the past 30 years. Wow, Colorado, they don't keep coaches long, but Dion is the exception. Or excuse me, Coach Prime. Coach Prime, if you're watching this, Coach Prime is the exception to this rule. Now, the Colorado Buffaloes, I could see them pitching an upset against Georgia Tech, because Georgia Tech, even though that they have the same roster from last year, obviously it's not going to be the same team, because you obviously have more people coming in the transfer portal. And for Colorado this season, they got to get off to more faster starts. That's the one thing for the last couple of years, and it even plagued them when Shedeur and Travis Hunter were there. They always started off slow. Now, with Colorado, if Colorado can start off, up 7-0, up 10-0, get that defense, get the defense in the crowd at home, get that momentum going, they obviously can play the game on their terms. But turnovers and penalties, that has hurt the Colorado Buffaloes over the past few years. Over the past few years. So good luck to Colorado, and hopefully Colorado can not just make a bowl game, but dare I say, Colorado make it to a college football playoff game. Because now, hear me out. I need everybody to hear me out. I think I'm going to go big screen. I'm going to go full screen on what I'm about to say. Having Colorado in the college football playoff, you already know that that is going to generate a lot of revenue for college football, for my stuff, for Keytime Sports, and as far as college football as a whole, having the Buffaloes in the playoff with Coach Prime being the head coach, having him at the helm, oh my goodness, that is going to be a microscope if the Buffaloes are able to make it to the college football playoff. Now, I'm pulling for the Buffaloes to make it because obviously, and I do mean obviously, the Buffaloes, that is one team that needs to be in the college football playoff. Now, that's easier said than done because today is August 18th. Tuesday, August 18th. And we might be thinking about something else by the time December gets here. But obviously, this is just preseason hype. You could be a lot of things in the preseason. Before the season starts, you can have a whole lot of potential. But after week 4, week 5 of the regular season, then everything starts to come back down to earth. So good luck to the Colorado Buffaloes. I got a few more teams that I do have problems with on this list, but I just had to throw the Colorado Buffaloes in there. Now let's get back to the rankings. Let's get back to these college football rankings. Now, the top 3 teams in the SEC, and I'm pretty sure everybody can agree with me on this. The top 3 teams in the SEC going into the 2026 season is Alabama, Georgia, and I'm going to say Ole Miss. Now, I was fighting between Ole Miss and Texas all day yesterday as I was looking at this list, but Texas, they've been in the top 10 each of the last 4 years, and they've fallen out of the top 10 by season's end. So I really don't know what to expect from Texas. We really don't know what to expect from Texas. And as we can see, when it comes to, I'm going to give you all the Texas Longhorn schedule. As you all can see, look at the schedule right here. First game, they have Texas State. They're going to win that one. Then they have Ohio State, September 12th. September 26th, you have Tennessee. Then you have Oklahoma on October 10th, the Red River rivalry. Then October 24th, you have Ole Miss. Then 4 of the last 5 weeks, you have nothing but ranked opponents. Missouri, LSU. You have Texas A&M to finish out the season Friday, November 27th, the day after Thanksgiving. So the Texas Longhorns, what are they going to do this season? Are they going to be one of those teams that we can pretty much put them on a high pedestal coming into the season, or are they going to fall off to the tail end of the season? Now, Arch Manning, he is the type of player that this could be finally a breakout year for him. And not just, when I say breakout year for Arch Manning, I'm not talking about you play teams like the teams that you are going to have on your these subpar teams, these inferior teams like Texas State, UTSA. Of course, he's gonna ball out with those teams against those teams. But if you can ball out against those teams, like you don't have Georgia on your schedule this year, but if you can ball out against those teams like Ohio State, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Ole Miss, LSU, and Texas A&M on a game in, game out basis, the Texas Longhorns are going to be looking pretty good. That's if Arch Manning can ball out against those teams. Now, the next team that I am going to cover, and as I was looking at their ranking, it pretty much surprised me. It did. It pretty much surprised me, and that is Louisville. Well, basically, the last two teams that are in the top 25, Louisville. We see the Louisville Cardinals, their schedule. And like I said, the teams that carry the ACC are Miami, Florida State, and SMU. SMU. Now, Louisville, they are also in the ACC, but Louisville, they haven't been carrying the ACC since, well, they wasn't even carrying the ACC when Lamar Jackson was there, and that was almost 10 years ago. But when we look at the Louisville Cardinals schedule, Ole Miss on Sunday night, September 6th, that's on Labor. Wow. They got them in the Labor Day weekend spot. The Louisville Cardinals versus the Ole Miss Rebels. Now, that is going to be a good game. And then you get to where Louisville, they only have two ranked opponents as of right now, Ole Miss and SMU. And then everybody else is unranked. Now, from the looks of this schedule, they should go 11-1. But we all know division opponents, you're playing state rivals. All of those games can go either way. All of them. And there could be some upsets when it comes to the Louisville Cardinals. It could be. But as of right now, we all know that this is just the Associated Press and this is the coaches poll. But we all know that when we get to the so-called experts going, they always say that there's a team on this list that's going to surprise everybody. Now, they might be right, but this is preseason. This is preseason right now, and we're not totally sure what kind of teams we are going to see. Now, there are a couple of outliers that are on this list. And here's the last team that I have a problem with, Iowa. Where in the world is Iowa justified to be on this list? The last 5 seasons, I'm going to tell you all something. The Iowa Hawkeyes offense for the last 3 seasons. Look at these numbers. Listen to these numbers. In 2023, Iowa, they had one of the worst offenses in college football. There are 136 teams that play collegiate athletics on Saturdays in the fall. Offensively, Iowa was 123rd in offense in 2023. 2024, Iowa's offense was 118th. So they didn't improve much. And 2025, last season, Iowa's offense was 97. So they haven't improved much over the past 3 years. So for the Associated Press to have Iowa as number 22, it's just downright, it just downright don't make no sense, because there are far more teams that are more justified of the 22nd spot than Iowa. I mean, I can think of plenty of teams. I could think of plenty of teams. I can even think of, now I know that I'm just going out on a limb, but the new coach for the Florida Gators, they could be penciled 22 instead of Iowa. At least with Florida, at least it seems like Florida will have a better offense than Iowa this season. But like I said, this is just preseason. And within a matter of, I'm going to say 11 days, college football will be back. So obviously, there's a lot between now and then that can happen. But we are going to see week 0 in college football on August 29th. That is not this Saturday coming up. That is the following Saturday. That is the following Saturday. And with that, those are my reactions to the AP poll college football top 25 for the preseason. Now, please comment, share, subscribe to, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube. As you all can see, I do this every day. And Key City Sports, also, I do this every day on Instagram. And here is Keyman on millions.co. Now, I conduct interviews with athletes on millions.co. Here is my media feed on millions.co. And here is my merchandise shop on millions.co. And as I always say, this is public. This is public. So anybody who wants to buy Keys to the Road apparel, you can. All processing, shipping, and handling is covered. Now, I do mean this is covered by, all processing, shipping, and handling is covered by Millions. So I'm going to do a refresher for anybody who did not see it just now. So, Keytime Sports on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and Keyman on Millions. Keyman on millions.co. Making sure everybody see it. Again, here is my media feed on millions.co. Here is my merchandise. Keys to the Road apparel is available. All processing, shipping, and handling will be taken care of by millions.co. You can go get you a shirt, compression shirt, or joggers as soon as possible, and it will be delivered right to your door the very next day or week. All depends on when you purchase your clothing. So with that, And those are my reactions to the AP poll top 25 college football. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to all of my social media platforms. And remember, everybody, one last thing, the key is always on time.